Hey guys, it's JJ. Welcome back to the Laredo State Dynasty, where we just had a 4-8 season, 2-7 in conference, worst team in the Sun Belt. Pretty disappointing end to the season. We were kind of close to getting to 500 for a while there, but we lost out in the end. And yeah, we had a bunch of one-score games that we couldn't win, and next year I expect that to go a lot differently. And yeah, we start the off season by firing both our coordinators. I'm gonna get a couple people here with Texas pipelines, and I guess we'll see who's out there. That 3-4 multiple scheme fit for defensive coordinator was also bugging me a lot, and I guess we'll see what's out there. But yeah, we're gonna have a conference championship game here between Texas State and Troy. And I do expect Troy to win because they are the ranked team, which Texas State also was for a little while there, and then we knocked them off. But yeah, Texas and Georgia is going to be the conference championship game in the SEC, and we are working with relegation here. So whoever wins that conference championship for the Sun Belt is going to move up. We already know who's going to move down. It's going to be Kentucky, because there were two teams in the SEC that went 1-8, and they had a direct matchup, and Kentucky lost it. So we're gonna see Kentucky next year in the Sun Belt. Now we sim ahead and get John Nunez, the tight end, out of Conroe, Texas. We need a couple more tight ends on the roster. That's a weak spot where, not a weak spot, but a spot where we just don't have a lot of bodies. And then we sim ahead a week, and we get the winner, and that's going to be Troy over Texas State, 35-7. That was not even close. So we have Troy as the winner of the Sun Belts, moving up now. They're going to replace Kentucky in the Eastern division of the SEC, and then Kentucky moves down and replaces Troy in the Eastern Conference of the Sun Belt. We also see the Heisman winner is Dante Moore out of Oregon. This has been something that's been happening a lot in these dynasties. But we also win an award. Best defensive end is going to be Calvin Leyva. He had 12 sacks. Great season for him. And yeah, now let's see if we can't get a few people in here as our coordinators. I found a North Texas pipeline dude out of... from North Texas, the University of North Texas, and I'm gonna make him an offer, even though the scheme doesn't really fit. It's gonna be an air raid scheme. Couldn't really find anybody with a pro style, but I guess we'll see. And then for defense, I found this guy, base 4-3 with East Texas pipeline. That's honestly perfect, and nobody's really that interested in him, so we're trying to get this guy in here. Now let's check out all the awards and the All-Americans. We have Dante Moore winning the Heisman. There is no surprise there. Oregon has been doing really well in college football 25. Best head coach goes out to West Virginia, Earl Wilbury. Best quarterback obviously also goes out to Dante Moore, with Gunnar Stockton from Georgia close behind. And then best defensive player, we narrowly miss out. It goes to Kansas State linebacker Asa Newsome. But Calvin Leyva in second, Emmanuel Valdez in fourth. So that's some great news there. We have a couple of really surprising edge rushers. They had a pretty solid season. I mean, Leyva had a really good season. Valdez had more of a decent season. Best defensive back, we have a ninth placement here for Brian Alonso. He is a team captain and one of the best players in our secondary, 83 overall. He played pretty well, and he makes this list as the 9th player. Nobody else though on that list, and so we're moving on. Let's see who else we got. Best running back. Yeah, that's something else. We have John Suarez make it in 4th here. The redshirt freshman. He had a really good season as well. I didn't even know that he cracked 1,000 yards. We'll check out the stats in a few seconds, but he had a really good season, and not just the pure volume that he got from his carries, but also the average. We didn't have any receivers making this list. It's just we didn't really have the pass pro to run a potent passing offense, and that's why we didn't really have any receivers standing out that much. But for the Lombardi Award, Calvin Leyva makes it in 3rd. Valdez is going to be in 9th. Yeah, Valdez with a 6-sack season. That's actually pretty disappointing, to be honest, for somebody of his caliber. He should have had a few more sacks, but can't do anything about it. Best Defensive End Award goes to Calvin Leyva. We already knew that. Valdez in 3rd place there. They beat out Will Helt, Cameron James, a few other players. But yeah, something to be really proud of here for Calvin Leyva. I hope he makes a big jump in training this off-season. Now, we obviously did not have any O-linemen make it because, well, I mean, I don't have to explain, right? We had a really bad O-line. We also didn't have a tight end make it. There was just no volume there for passing yardage or anything. We went 4-8, so obviously we didn't have any coordinators win anything. Best linebacker, I'm actually kind of disappointed that Dave Santos didn't make this list. He had a great season. And then best center, nobody made it there. Our center was a 68 overall, so no surprise. No kickers and no punters. And then for returner, we actually had a returnman here with 1 touchdown. That was Cerdeno, but didn't make this list. Now, All-Americans, national first team, John Suarez made it on this list. I was so surprised when I saw this the first time around. John Suarez had a pretty good season, but I did not think that it would be good enough for him to make this first team All-Americans in the country, not just in the conference or anything. Now, obviously, he was the only guy to make anything here on the national level. I mean, I guess we'll check out the second team, but for the first team, John Suarez that's it. He's the guy. And yeah, the crazy thing is most of these players on this list are seniors and juniors, and Suarez is a redshirt freshman, or was this last season. Now for the second team, I don't see anybody right now. As we go down the list, there's just a bunch of players that are always winning these awards and stuff. Francis Mauinoa, for example, a right tackle for Miami, or Marquise Lightfoot for Miami. These are people that are on these lists all the time, and there's just that's just how college football develops. But we don't have anybody on the second team. We do have a freshman here in John Suarez make it on the all-freshman or freshman All-Americans team. He looks really good. It's pretty great, and he still has some room to grow. Like, he can get even better. So I'm pretty excited about his next season, and I hope he also makes a big jump in the off season. Now, we don't have any of our edge rushers make it, sadly, even though Calvin Leyva won Defensive End of the Year. He didn't make this list, not even the freshman team, but can't do anything about it. No linebackers. Dave Santos didn't make it either. No kickers, no punters, no safeties, and no corners. But let's check out the Sun Belt. That's where the real action is going to be. I think we're going to have a few players on there. As we have John Suarez obviously make the first teams All-American for the Sun Belt. But no receivers here. I think Jaquez Lara had actually a pretty solid season, but he did not make this list. We did face a few of these players. Actually, we faced almost all of them, now that I think about it. We faced almost all of these players here. Both our defensive ends don't make it on the first team either. And Dave Santos doesn't make it as a linebacker. So that was pretty disappointing to see. But we have a second team here as well. And there were quite a few players on there. And yeah. Well, I mean, quite a few. Might be an over-exaggeration. Obviously, since Suarez made it on the first team, he can't make it on the second. And that was actually pretty disappointing that Lara was not selected here for the second team either. But we have Valdez make it at left end. That's actually something at least. even though he had only 6 sacks, and Kelvin White had 12 sacks, and Kelvin Leva had 12 sacks and didn't make it. That was pretty disappointing. Yeah, only one more player on the second team, but on the freshman team there is quite a bunch of players. Because, and that's the thing, all of our players, our entire team are either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. And that's why we make up almost all of this team. Suarez makes it as a freshman there. Jaquez Lara and Tavares Cerdeño make it as the receivers. We have Alex Guillermo as a tight end, and he didn't even produce that much. And Cerdeño had, I think, about 500 yards. It's not like a crazy season or anything. The disappointing part is our entire line was made up of redshirt freshmen, and only one of them made it on this list. This is more of an indictment of how bad our O-line actually was this season. And then we have Valdez make it. Kelvin Leva still disrespected even here. Best defensive end in the country can't make it on the Sunbelt freshman All-American team. Are you kidding me? Ronaldo Sanchez makes it as defensive tackle. And then Dave Santos as a linebacker. Man, that kid had a crazy good season. You'll see in a second when we go over all the individual stats. And we have Brian Alonso at corner. And we even had a kicker in here, Steve Garcia. So there is something to be excited about with this team being almost all freshmen. We have a couple players recruited that were recruited as JUCOs, and so there is a few JUCO, like sophomores and juniors on this team, but almost all the team is freshmen. Now, this is early signing day, but this is already the final class. And we recruited a running back here, Kevin Colombo, with elite dev trait. This is already a 23-player class, and I will not recruit anybody else. And then we also have a receiver with elite dev trait. Arellanes looks crazy good. Ramon Iglesias has star dev, so two 4-star receivers with star or elite dev. That's ridiculously good. We get a couple tight ends with impact and normal dev. But then we also got 3 4-star tackles. Impact dev for Trevino, impact dev for Guerrero, and then carry on. He did get away, but Pacheco has also impact dev, so 3 tackles with 4-star rating here. And then we get a guard with normal dev. We didn't really get lucky on these players. Another guard with impact here. That's only a 3-star. And Mendez is also a 3-star with impact dev. I cannot believe that we missed out here on Juan Soriano. Last possible week, and Baylor overtakes us for that elite dev. But yeah, Javier Yolito, he has impact. Centennial has impact. DiMercado has normal. Medrano has impact. All the linebackers and edge rushers, nothing special there. But wait a second for the DBs. We have Taylor Pena here with impact. Esposito has impact. And George Alves, a 3-star safety, has elite dev. He looks pretty solid, but that elite dev, I hope, goes along with great caps. And then George Cabral, he's just normal dev, so nothing special there. And yeah, let's check out the coordinators. We got both of them. Lee Bodie is going to be our offensive coordinator with that air raid scheme. And then we have BJ Cameron with a base 4-3 pipeline East Texas. That sounds pretty great. I guess we'll see how good these two are going to do. But we're going to move on now to the college football playoff bracket. And yeah, UAB made it as the 12th seed. And they got beaten pretty badly, 38 points by Nebraska, and they move on. We have South Florida and Virginia Tech played out, and Virginia Tech moves on. And we've got UCF 26-21 over West Virginia. So West Virginia with their head coach of the year player is one and done. And then Texas, for some reason, puts up only 11 points against Illinois, and they lose out as Illinois moves on and gets beaten down by Clemson, 42 points. And then UCF, they just beat West Virginia. Now they beat number 3 ranked Kansas State by multiple scores. Virginia Tech also wins by multiple scores in an upset over Georgia. And then Nebraska loses by 1 point to number 4 Oregon. As Oregon moves on, and they also beat Virginia Tech, who just had beaten Georgia handedly. And they move on. And then Clemson wins it against UCF. And Clemson goes on to the final, and they win it all in a, come from behind victory. They were down after 3 quarters, but they had a 2-touchdown fourth quarter and win it all. Now, individual stats on the season. We had Wayne Estrada for 2,882 yards, 516 attempts, 296 completions, 80 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 5.6 per average per attempt. Gutierrez, he had 117 yards, 12 of 21. He just played that 1 half, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Nothing too special to write home about. But we had John Suarez, more than 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns without a single fumble lost. Great season for Suarez. Jesus Herrera had 317 yards as the receiving back, 3 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Probably gonna still be in that receiving role. And then Vasquez as the power back had 4 touchdowns on 97 yards. And Vela had a few of those the jet sweeps. Now, Jaquez Lera actually had 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns. He had a pretty solid season. He also had a few drops here and there. He's not the greatest receiver we'll ever see, but that was actually a pretty good season. Now, Tavares Cerdeno is another story. That dude had 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he had a number of drops. He had that one good game where he also had the punt return touchdown where he suddenly caught everything, but that's about it. And then we had a tight end here for 423 yards, 2 touchdowns in Guillermo, nothing special. Vela as the slot receiver, only 300 yards. Despite having catching ratings in the high 80s, he had quite a few drops. And then Suarez had actually the best average per reception of all of the players on the team, 12.9 yards. Leads the team. And then Herrera had about 200 yards and a touchdown. Cardoza about 200 yards and a touchdown. Herrera just a few yards and a touchdown. But nothing crazy there. And then Machado. Now, for linebackers, we had Dave Santos with 134 tackles. This kid had a bunch of solo tackles as well. Like, this kid was flying around the field. Now, Emmanuel Valdez, despite being a rusher and not a run stopper, had actually 22 TFLs, which is pretty crazy. Kelvin Leyva had 20 TFLs and Dave Santos 17 TFLs. He was better than both our defensive tackles combined on TFLs. That is absolutely crazy to me. Santos had a great season. And now for sacks, we have Kelvin Leyva, 12 sacks. Emmanuel Valdez had 6. Dave Santos had 3. He had more sacks, or the same amount of sacks as both our defensive tackles. And he was a linebacker. He's an off-the-ball linebacker. He's not a 3-4 outside linebacker or anything. But yeah, Valdez, 6 sacks is actually not enough, to be honest. He's just, I don't know what it is. He doesn't get in the backfield enough for the ratings he has. He should be producing a lot more, is what I want to say. And then yeah, the defensive tackles, they didn't do enough. Sanchez and Cacatera and Vasquez, they need to do more. For interceptions, we had 3 for Santiago Rodriguez, who was the guy that got torched a bunch in the first half of the season. He actually bounced back. He got a few picks there. But overall, this is not enough picks, and we have a pretty horrible safety duo at that. So there is a lot of room to improve. And then forced fumbles, only 2. That's not enough. Kelvin Leyva was the only one with a strip sack. And yeah, we need to do more in that department. Not enough turnovers created on this defense. Kicking, we had Steve Garcia. He just doesn't really have the leg, and he's going to be replaced next season. As Jorge Escobar was the punter. Not a crazy leg eater, and he's also going to be replaced. For kick returns, that's pretty average, I guess. But Sardenio did have that one punt return. Now, for records broken by players from our team this year, we only have one. Jaquez Lara breaks the team record for receptions in the season. It's 97. I think that is probably definitely gonna be like winnable for another receiver. But yeah, now let's look at the team stats, as we did have actually with that run game a pretty decent offense, one of the better ones, but we had also a below average. I think it's a below average defense, but let's keep looking at the offense's numbers. That passing offense was pretty decent. The rushing yardage was actually best in the entire conference, 1,603. That's almost more than 100 more than the next one. And yeah, points per game, we were above average, but also not crazy good. So I'd say the offense is on the right track, but with that off-season training boost, I think we're going to be heading in the right direction next year. We only had 19 passing touchdowns. That's a very low number, but there is also something to be said about running it a lot in the red zone, and that's what we did, and that's why we have the second highest number of rushing touchdowns, only beaten by Sam Houston. So in total, that's 36 touchdowns in 12 games. That's 3 per game. I think that's okay. Now for the defense, we had the second worst defense in the entire conference, and I am not surprised by that. We do have a very weak pair of defensive tackles last year. We had, apart from Dave Santos, no good linebackers or anything. We had one good corner and a horrible safety duo. This is what this looks like. And yeah, we had the second worst pass defense. I'm not surprised by that at all, as Calvin Leyva was the only one producing reasonable amounts of pressures. And then rushing yardage allowed is actually, I would say, okay. It looks pretty bad because it looks like we're the fourth worst, and we are, but we're closer to the middle of the pack than to the bottom. And so I think with the training boost, we're also going to be heading in the right direction next year. Maybe we can have an average defense next year and like a top 5 offense, and maybe we can do something. Now for points allowed, this actually doesn't look too bad. We are below average, but we're a lot closer to the middle than to the bottom. Sacks produced 30. I actually cannot believe that is 5th best in the entire conference. That is kind of shocking. But we only had 2 fumbles forced, or recovered, I guess. Forced and recovered. 2 fumbles and 5 interceptions, which is both last in the entire conference. Those only 7 turnovers, that's not enough. We got to create more. Now for third down conversion percentage, we were really good, 53%. And that's because we ran it a bunch, and we were in a lot of favorable third down situations. We also went for it a bunch on 4th down, and we came away with a 70% conversion rate. That's actually really good, but that's only because we usually get ourselves into favorable situations as compared to like a 3rd and 10 all the time. We had a bunch of 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s with like 4 and 5 yard runs and stuff. Our red zone efficiency is actually really good, which is something that I'm pretty surprised by. And then our defensive red zone efficiency is crazy good. Only 36% touchdowns on red zone attempts for opposing offenses. That's really good. I actually don't know how we did that, because we don't really have a great D-line or anything to get immediate pressure on these situations or anything, but yeah. And then for turnover differential, -1, which is in the bottom 3 of the league. Yeah, it's not about giving away the ball too much. It's about getting the ball not enough from the opposing offenses. That's the problem. Now we're gonna take a quick look at the schedule. We won our first ever game, and then we got blown out by Texas. Got blown out by Arkansas State. And then we got blown out by Appalachian State. And then we blew out SMU. I don't know how we did that, but they didn't have really a great game plan. And then that sim Houston Gate was actually pretty close. The Louisiana game was actually winnable as well. We could have won all of those. And then we beat ranked Texas State, at the time ranked. And then we lost to UTEP in unbelievable fashion. And then we completely blew out Baylor. I don't know how we did that. They just gave us an interception on the first play of the game, and it was downhill from there. And then we lost to a very close game against UTSA and Rice. So I think next year we can turn a lot of these one-score losses around. And that's going to get us to players leaving. And this is where the sad part happens. We have a transfer for low playing time and low persuasion chance. Kevin Santana. He wants to transfer away. I'm going to persuade him. It did not work. And he is going to be leaving now. The three seniors, those were players from the cupcake rosters that I couldn't cut last year. They had to stay on the roster, but they didn't really play. Now, Kevin Santana was a true freshman last year, and that redshirted him. He's an elusive back with pretty good hands and a lot of speed. He doesn't really have power. That 69 stiff arm or 72 trucking is not going to do it for anybody, but he's a really good athlete with a lot of elusiveness and break tackle ability. And we're definitely going to miss him because, well, he would have been our second running back next year, probably. I'm guessing. I don't know what the offseason training would have brought. But now that he's transferring, he's not going to get any training results because he's going to a new team. He didn't have any abilities so far, but being a true freshman redshirt, he also did not have any stats. No rushing attempts or anything for us. He's just going to transfer away, and we'll play him one day when he's a starter on his next team. Draft results, we didn't get anybody drafted. Everybody was a freshman. No surprise. But yeah, I had already said on the early signing day, that's our complete recruiting class. We were not going to recruit anything. I didn't. And we just simmed 4 stages of offseason. And Kevin Santana committed to Tulsa. He's not going to be a starter in his first season at Tulsa, but I imagine he will be by his sophomore season. And we will play him then, I guess. Now, we did have the best recruiting class in the entire Sun Belt, and not even close. It was by so far. We are the only team that had more than 2 4-stars. We hit 8 of them in our recruiting class, and then 15 3-stars, which makes it number 26 in the entire country. And now we're getting to position changes. We had 3 athletes. Kevin Colombo, our running back, he actually did have pretty good ratings for other positions as well. But that 44 block shed is not going to make him good enough at safety. That 41 press is not going to make him good enough at corner. Those are just 2 ratings that are too important for these 2 positions. And he would have been a pretty good linebacker as well, but not at 5'10", 204. That's just not enough size. So there's only one reasonable thing to do, and it's putting him at a running back. I think he also would have made a pretty decent receiver, but we just lost a 4-star running back, and I think that John Suarez might have a good chance to declare next year. Depends on the training results or anything, but like I think we need a new running back next year, and that's why I'm gonna put him at running back. Now, Miguel Alonso was recruited as a quarterback, and he has only 82 speed, so he can't really be anything else. I know he would probably make a solid running back just from his skills, but 82 speed is not going to cut it. So I'm going to put him at quarterback. That's where he belongs. He wouldn't be playing as a running back either way. So Miguel Alonso is going to be a quarterback. And then we have the same thing with Enrique Alcantara that we did with the running back. 28 press is not good enough. That's even if he had 30 more points at press, even in the 50s, that would not be good enough to put him at corner. And then he had 50 block shedding, which is definitely not good enough to put him at safety either. And he can't play linebacker because he's only 203. Like, it's just not enough size. And what else are you going to play him at? That's just not enough. So even though his by overall best position would would be on the defensive side. He is a receiver. I can't put him at tight end either because 203 is just too light as a tight end. So he's going to be a receiver. And then there is a few players on the roster that I wanted to change positions for. Tavares Cerdeño is a receiver, 5'8", 178, and he's almost maxed out on his ratings. He can't really get any better, and he has a really good skill set as a running back. So that's why I'm going to put him at running back and hope that the caps are going to be good for him, and then he can develop as a running back. Enrique De Castro was a linebacker for us last season, one of the only freshmen playing. But he just doesn't have enough speed at linebacker, and he's a power rusher anyway, so I'm just gonna put him at defensive end now because that's where he belongs, and there is no surprise there. Now for the receivers, I had two more receivers like Cerdeño, but one of them is 6'1", 166, so he just doesn't have the size to play running back, and the other actually has a little bit of caps left, so I want to try to give him a chance to be better at receiver. But the third player I want to change positions for is Nick Correa. He looks like our second best corner, but he has only 85 speed. And that's just not enough at corner. And he was our dime corner last year. I want to put him at safety, at strong safety to be precise, because we didn't really have anybody there. Last season we played a 67 overall at strong safety last year. And yeah, that's why I'm going to put Correa there now. We have a bunch of other corners that have enough speed to play corner. Now, position changes are done. We're now at training results. And Wayne Estrada looks like the best quarterback this year as well. Matthew Gutierrez made a jump, but not big enough. And spoiler alert, he's already maxed out. No other quarterback made a massive jump other than Alex Valencia, who went up +7, but still is not good enough as a quarterback to beat out Wayne Estrada. So we're gonna move forward with Wayne Estrada as our starting QB. At running back, John Suarez goes up by +4. He's now an 86 overall, and he has 94 speed now. That is pretty crazy, so he's definitely gonna be the starter. Tavares Cerdeño went up by +3, and Jesus Herrera went up by +9. So we have now 3 receiving backs. I mean, 1 elusive and 2 receiving backs, but our only power back in Nick Vasquez didn't go up almost at all. He's still a 71 overall. I think he was a 70 before or something. That's pretty sad, but he's still going to be the power back. The other guys on the top don't really have the skills. But yeah, pretty excited about Suarez's development. He's now an 86 overall, one of the best players on the team. We have a fullback here that went up by +3, I think. And then receivers. Jaquez Lara didn't go up at all. Still an 81 overall, just as before training. But Johnny Machado went up by +9. He is now 93 speed with catching ratings in the high and 80s and low 90s. Emilio Vela did go up by +5. Anthony Esponda went up by +7 or 8, I think. Rosas went up by +6, and Chris Cardoza didn't go up at all. So he's the big loser in training. He didn't win anything at all. And the 2 receivers at the bottom didn't win anything either. So the big winner here is definitely Johnny Machado. He's going to take over the number 2 receiver spot. And Vela is still going to be the slot receiver. Esponda is going to be the number 4. For tight ends, Juan Rivera did go up by, I think, +1. So not a lot, but he did get a little bit better. Guillermo was maxed out before, but I couldn't change his position. He can't really play anything else. Castaneda went up by, I think, +6 or +5 or something. He looks to be a decent number 2, like, receiving tight end. But the big winner here at the O-line is Trey Bavaro. Went up by +7. So that's great news. Left tackle was definitely one of the weaknesses last year, and I love that Bavaro is now a pretty good tackle. Mares went up by a few as well. Not massive jump or anything, but we have a pretty solid left side of the line now. And then for center, we have Manu Palacio. He played as a true freshman, 68 overall or something. He's now 75 overall. With 86 strength, but that 70 pass block is still concerning. At right guard, we have a winner here, Manuel Cordero. Almost as big a jump as the left tackle. He's now an 84 overall. Looks really good. Jimmy Melendez, he's the 4-star players out of these two, and he didn't make a jump at all. He's now still a 76 overall. At right tackle, Enrique Marrero was supposed to be the one with the big jump. He is the 4-star, but he also didn't make a big jump. He's now 79 overall. But I am actually pretty happy with his pass protection rating, so he's definitely going to play. Anthony Castellanos was the starter last year, and he stayed around the same as well. So Marrero definitely has beat him now. Emmanuel Valdez is now a 90 overall with unbelievable, unreal athleticism, 90 power moves. This dude is probably going to be declaring after this year. I would be surprised if he didn't. And if he's going to be declaring as a projected first or second round pick, I'm not going to stop him. Costanza and Gonzalez go up by about 6 and 8 or something, but nothing too crazy. At right end, we have Calvin Leyva going up +3. Up to an 83 overall. He definitely is still going to be the starter in pass rush situations, but we have a pretty good backup here in Valles, the third guy here on the list. He has really good block shedding, so you'll definitely see him this year as well. And then for defensive tackle, Adrian Silvestro, he was redshirted last year. He's a true freshman last year. He went up by a few overall, and is now the best defensive tackle on the team. He's going to play this year as well. Sanchez didn't go up at all, and Vasquez went up by, I think that's a +4, +5 maybe. We are going to see him. Calcaterra is the big loser out of this defensive tackle group, and Mechiela was, I think, low 60s overall player before this, so he wasn't going to jump up there anyway. But yeah, Santos, big jump for him as well. I think that's a +6. He's a great athlete, and he's now even better as a linebacker. He's going to be crazy good. Jose Castillo didn't really go up much, but you'll see in a second why. The guy who went up a lot was Jesus Cabral, I think up by +7 maybe. And then at right outside linebacker, this guy went up +9 or something. He had made a pretty big jump. And then Castro, more of a medium jump, but yeah, we have an actual linebacker group this year. And then at corner, Brian Alonso, he went up by +4 or +5. And he looks pretty good now. Santiago Rodriguez went up by +4, I think. Pena, he had a massive jump. I think he was a 71 overall before training. And then Cardoza went up by +2 or something, but he's the big loser now because Jamichael Pena overtook him. And yeah, at safety we have Carvajal. Not a crazy jump or anything, but that Ben Alonso guy, he might be on the overtaking track. Depending on how Carvajal is gonna play, we might see Ben Alonso as a starter, but for now it's gonna be Carvajal's job to lose. And then Correa didn't go up a lot, but Cordero, he went up by +9 and he still looks worse. So that's fun. I mean, we'll check out these guys' ratings later, so we'll talk about it then. And at kicker, we do have a new kicker that's gonna play. Garcia, he has 74 kick power and he's capped, so he's done. We're gonna see Velasco next year. And the same thing at punter. Escobar was our punter this year, but 79 kick power and he's capped, and the other guy's already better, so he's also done as well. Now we do have to make one cut. We have 86 players, and that one cut is going to be very simple. A running back with 84 speed, he's never going to play. So Matt Costanzo, he's the one guy that I'm going to have to cut here. That's always what I do at cutting day. I want to see all the very bad athletes that are never going to play because of their athleticism, and that's my first cut guys usually. Now, I feel like this training class or training results thingy was going really well. We had a bunch of players go up by a lot, and I think we have a lot less holes on the roster now, and I think we can actually compete in a lot more games next year and actually maybe win in the trenches when it's crunch time in the fourth quarter, because that was kind of our kryptonite last year. I'm just talking over this preseason All-Americans team. There's just nothing to talk about. We're not going to make any of these lists for the national level at least. But I think we have a pretty solid roster now, and we'll go over that roster in a second. All the players that are important for next season, plus all the interesting recruits that we just brought in. But we have a bunch of players that were starting last year and they were like low 70s overall or something. But especially on the O-line, we have now a few really good starters, and I think we can compete there in the Sun Belt now, as we are now changing to the preseason All-American for the Sun Belt. Nobody for the first team, and that's probably due to the fact that Kentucky is now in our league. And that's not going to help at all. Look at how many players Kentucky has on this list. They are just a little bit too good, I think. But I guess we'll see how good we're going to do. I can already spoil that they are going to be on the schedule we're going to play them. And that's not great news, I think. But we can't do anything about it. If you want to win the conference, you got to beat the toughest team. You got to be the toughest team. And that means beating Kentucky this year. Now we have both the two top running backs on the second team, which is kind of crazy. Suarez and Cerdeno. We don't have any receivers, but the tight end Juan Rivera makes it here. I don't know if he's going to be playing that much. He's a blocking tight end with 77 speed, so it's not crazy anyway. But we have one O-lineman make it this time around. It's Manuel Cordero, so that's something to be proud of. And we have Valdez make it as the left end. We have a defensive tackle in Adrian Silvestro make this list. We have a linebacker in Dave Santos make this list. But nobody in the secondary, which is, to me, no surprise, honestly, because, I mean, we don't really have the greatest secondary. That being said, Brian Alonso, he should have been on this list. He's like an 87 overall now. But, I mean, it's Kentucky. They apparently have good corners. What do you want me to do? Now let's take a look at this team. We have Wayne Estrada, the lefty, 6'3", 187 out of Richmond, Texas. He has star dev, and he developed like it. Well, I mean, he had just a +3 jump, but it was overall it was enough. He is the best quarterback on the team, and that's not just by overall. Is also taking into account all the ratings. His deep accuracy is now 87, and his throw under pressure is 85. Throw on the run is 89. That kid just is so solid. The only real weakness he has is that 76 medium accuracy. That's just not great at all. But he's also mobile, and he is going to be the starter. Matthew Gutierrez was a 4-star quarterback out of Crosby, Texas, and he's now maxed out. He has 92 throw power, and he's maxed out at a 78 overall. What do we? I actually cannot believe this. His caps are so unbelievably restrictive, but can't do anything about it. His ratings are just not there. His deep ball is pretty bad. And, yeah. His throw under pressure and throw on the run are just, they can't compare to Wayne Estrada. It's just so much worse. And, yeah, I won't go over the other quarterbacks. It's just not worth it. Nobody's better than Wayne Estrada. So we're going to see Estrada again next year. And then we have John Suarez, our top running back, who is now almost maxed out. His elusiveness, 86 spin move, 78 juke move. The other way around. He has okay catching ratings. That's not too bad. The route runnings are actually really good. It's just the catching ratings are not really there. And then we have 94 speed and 92 acceleration. This kid is going to produce this year. You can count on that. But he is only going to be the starter. He's not going to be the receiving back. That role is going to go to Tavares Cerdeno, who has made a little bit of a jump. He just converted to running back. He is a great route runner, especially for running back. He would be a pretty good route runner as a receiver as well. His catching ratings are now, instead of below average, pretty good. For running back, those catching ratings are pretty good. And he has still some room to grow. He will be going up again next year probably. He has 85 juke move, 84 spin move, 83 break tackle. He looks more like a running back, to be honest. And he has 93 speed as well. So he's going to be the receiving back, the third down back. And the loser out of the scenario is now Jesus Herrera. 6 foot, 193, a former 3-star who was the receiving back last year. Now, he has a lot of room to develop, and he can get a lot better. And he actually has the better catching ratings. but he's just not as elusive, and that break tackle at 64 is just going to disqualify him from being the receiving back now that we have a different option. He does have the speed, and I feel like if Suarez should declare this year, I think we have a good 1-2 punch next year as well. Kevin Colombo, I just recruited him. He's a true freshman. He's going to be redshirted this year. He's not going to play because he's not better than any of the other 3 running backs I just showed you. But that being said, he has pretty good caps. He's going to develop a lot over the next couple years, and I think he could make a jump to like 80 or 82 overall next year in the offseason. The good thing is he's already a great athlete, and it's not capped. He can get even better. But right now, he's not better than John Suarez, so I'm going to redshirt him. Now, our power back, Nick Vasquez, didn't jump up overalls at all, and that's pretty disappointing. 6 feet, 232. He's a wrecking ball, and his stiff arm and trucking ratings are pretty darn good. But he didn't go up at all in overall, and that's pretty sad. But that being said, he still is the best power back on the team. You can't argue that. And that 87 speed, I mean, at the power back, that's actually fine. I'd be pretty disappointed if he had to be our starter. But as a power back, just as a pure goal line back, I think Vasquez is still going to do a very fine job. At fullback, we have Dom Calcaterra. Nothing special here. He's a blocking dude with no speed at all. But I feel like he's going to do an okay job as a fullback if we put him out there. We don't have a lot of formations where we need a fullback, so I don't think that's going to be necessary too much. But yeah, top receiver, Jaquez Lara, 5'8", 174. He is still going to be our number 1 receiver. He has great ability after the ball, actually. He's a really good route runner. 88 short, 86 medium, 80 deep route running. Solid hands, not crazy good or anything, but yeah, and 90 speed. So that makes him our best receiver. He's still going to be the outside threat number 1. And the big winner of training this year was Johnny Machado, 6'1", 166. He's now almost maxed out as well, 79 overall, but you can't convert him into anything else because the 166 is so small you can't put him at running back, not even at receiving back. But he is a pretty decent pass catcher. He has solid route runnings, and he's going to be the number 2 on the outside, and also he's going to be our only receiver with over 6 feet of size, and that 93 speed is going to be really handy as well. And Emilio Vela is going to be the slot guy again this year, even though he really doesn't have the speed, but receivers just didn't develop good enough this year. His elusiveness is pretty good, actually. He knows how to break a few tackles here or there or something. But yeah, he's a solid route runner, pretty good. His hands are the thing that stand out the most about him, and that's the only thing he's going to be on the field still. He has the best hands on the team, and you just can't argue it. All the catching ratings are in the high 80s, and that's why he is still going to be a slot receiver despite 85 speed. Anthony Esponda, he is also a winner of training, 5'7", 181. He's not yet mixed out, so he can get a little bit better still. But that route running ability, man, that's pretty good. That's pretty special. His hands, on the other hand, are pretty bad, and they won't really get a whole lot better. So that's pretty disappointing, the cap there on the hands. He is going to be the number 4. He's not going to be on the field a whole lot, but he has at least 92 speed, so that's not bad. Now, Joshua Arellanes is a player I just recruited. He has elite dev. He's 6'4", 214. I feel like those caps are a little bit, like, the caps are great actually, but he starts out with already so many of those yellow boxes there. He's going to be a great receiver. Definitely. No doubt about it. He's going to be massive. 6'4" with 91 speed, but he's not better than the receivers we have on the team starting right now. So he's going to be redshirted this year. We'll see him at the end of the season. And the same thing goes for Ramon Iglesias. He has even more caps, and a lot of the yellow bars are already filled. Those catching ratings are decent, but not great. He's not a good route runner yet. So both Iglesias and Arellanes are gonna be put on the red shirt. But that being said, Ramon Iglesias has 98 speed. So there is something to be really happy about for the future. Right now, we're focused on other receivers. Juan Rivera is our top tight end. He is a solid blocking tight end. He has okay catching ratings. The route runnings are okay for the short parts of the field. But he's definitely not going to be the focal point of the offense, especially with 77 speed. That's just not enough. And that's actually why I played Alex Guillermo over him last year. Guillermo is definitely the better receiving tight end, but he's maxed out. He's not going to get better, and he can't play any other positions. So he's just going to stay a 77 overall tight end until the day he graduates. And yeah, I'm not sure yet who I want to play, but he has 81 speed. So it's not like he has so much more speed. He's just a little bit more speed. So might as well put Rivera out there and have an elite blocker on the field as well. For tackle, left tackle Trey Bavaro. Man, 91 strength. Those run blocking ratings look absolutely sick. Well, I mean, not crazy good. It's not in the 90s, but pretty good. And his pass blocking ratings are interesting. 90 pass block power and 66 pass block finesse. That's a very interesting combo. But they can get a little bit better, and it's a hell of a lot better than everything we have had last year. So we're definitely gonna be happy with his dev. Now we also recruited a 4-star at left tackle last year, James Guerrero, 6'7", 304. He looks absolutely massive. He's not ready to play. Definitely, he's gonna be redshirted, obviously. But I feel like his ratings are already in pretty decent places. At least his pass protection. All 70s or 80s. The run blocking has 1 weak rating, but I feel like he's going to be a really solid tackle for the future. At left guard, we have Rocky Maris starting, 6'1", 300 pounds out of Texas. He's almost maxed out at this point, but he's an 85 overall. And the good thing is the only parts that are not maxed out are the most important parts, because his run blocking, all of them in the mid 80s, and it can get even better. They can get to the high 80s. He has 88 strength. That's more than enough. The pass blocking is very solid as well. I feel like the left part of our O-line looks pretty good. We also recruited Juan Trevino as a tackle last year, but I put him at guard because out of those 3 tackles that I recruited, I had to put one at guard, and Trevino is the one with the good strength. And then the interior, where you play against 300-pound defensive linemen, I want the good strength there, and he has the most strength on the team. He already looks pretty solid as a pass protector and as a run blocker as well. I feel like he's a very solid player. With a little bit of dev next year, he might be a very serviceable starter in the future. At center, we have Manu Palacio, a true freshman that played last year. We couldn't redshirt him because he was the only center on the roster. He has 86 strength. He is now a okay run blocker, a pretty decent pass protector, but I don't feel like he's gonna go anywhere. His pass blocking is almost maxed out. It's not gonna get a whole lot better. And yeah, that's why in a few seconds you'll see our new starter at center this year. Manuel Cordero is gonna be the start at guarder and the starter at guard. And well, his pass pro is so good. I don't even care about his run blocking. Like, all his pass blocking ratings are high 80s or low 90s. And those run blocking ratings are actually even serviceable. So, good enough. Now, Jimmy Melendez, he was the 4-star guy at right guard. He should have gone up by like 7 overall like Cordero did. And he didn't. But he's a great pass protector already, even though he didn't really go up by much. And he has pretty good strength as well, 92 strength. And with those ratings, he's going to be the new starter at center just as a bandit this year. I hope he goes up by a lot in the next off season, and he's going to be a starter at right guard. But for now, he's going to be the center. Then I also recruited a 4-star guard last year, Taylor Antonio. He's going to be redshirted this year, obviously, but he's already such a good starter at pass blocking. His power needs a lot of work. 80 strength is below average, especially at guard, but I recruited him as a guard. I want to leave him there. That run blocking, however, is pretty bad. I feel like he's going to be a serviceable starter in the future, but I don't feel like he's going to make it to the NFL. I don't think his caps are unrestricted enough. And then at right tackle, we have Enrique Marrero, who is, in my opinion, the highest ceiling starter or player on the offensive line. His pass pro is already so good, but he has almost no limits on it. That 84 strength is on the lower end of what you want, but it's not horrible. And the run blocking is unlimited. He's going to be so good in a couple of years, I think. And then Anthony Castellanos. He was the starter last year. He was a JUCO player. He's now a junior. And he just can't compete as a pass protector against Marrero. Marrero is just so much better as a pass protector. And that's why Castellanos is going to be a backup this year. I can't see why he can't be a starter in the future. He does have a lot of room to improve, and we'll see what happens next offseason, but he's going to be good enough, definitely. And then we have a 4-star player recruited at right tackle as well. Here, George Pacheco. Really good pass protection right off the bat. Really horrible run blocking. His power can go up by a lot, so I'm not worried about that. But the run blocking is in the 60s, and it's pretty much like very restricted from the caps. If he gets to the mid 70s, I'll be happy, but I don't think it's gonna go much higher than that. Now let's switch it up to the other side of the ball, as Emmanuel Valdez is now a 90 overall with 88 power moves, 86 strength. That block shedding is now up to 78 and can still get higher. The finesse moves are actually pretty horrible, but he has also 90 acceleration and 90 speed. This dude is just a height, weight, speed monster. And I hope this year we can see it on the field, I hope. Taylor Costanzo is going to back him up. 6'3", 249 out of College Station, Texas. He's a 76 power moves guy. His ratings are pretty much capped, but I think he's going to be a really good backup. That block shedding is pretty horrible, but as a pass rusher, 76 finesse moves, 76 power moves, and both can go up by a little bit. I think he's going to be a very serviceable backup this year. Javier Ylito is a recruit from last year that's going to be redshirted this season, obviously. 6'2", 239 out of Spring, Texas. And he has 82 power moves. I recruited him as a linebacker, by the way, but he's a power rusher archetype, so I just converted him to defensive end. I don't think I did. I showed it in the position changes period, but I think he's already a pretty good power rusher. His athleticism is pretty good. He can get up on the overall board a little bit, but he's going to be the future starter after Valdez declares. Kelvin Leiva is going to be the starter at right end. He's, however, only going to be starting in at rush end this time around. He's not going to be the starter in 4-3 base, and that's because his block shedding is just not good enough. But he has 85 finesse moves, 82 power moves. That 72 block shedding would be serviceable, I'd say, but we do actually have a player at right end that's actually better at that. He does have a great first step though, so he's gonna be the pass rusher. Now, Josh Valles is a player that didn't play last year, but he had a massive jump in run stopping in the offseason, and he has now 88 block shedding. And that's so much better now that I'd say it's worth it to go down 9 overalls in the 4-3 base personnel, lose a lot of the pass rush ability, but have an actual good run stopper in 4-3 base. And so Valles is now going to start in base, and Leiva is going to start in passing down situations. Now, at defensive tackle, that was our biggest weakness last year, I'd say. Adrian Silvestro, he went up a few overall points, but it's not crazy. His run stopping is really good, however. Like, he's a really good run stopper right off the bat now. But his pass rushing is just not good. And that is why he is not going to see the field on passing downs. He is our best overall player at defensive tackle, but we have two more players at defensive tackle that are just better pass rushers. Ronaldo Sanchez is one of those people, and he has 84 power moves, and that's already so much better than anything Silvestro has, and 76 finesse moves as well. He has great strength, and he's also a great run stopper. Well, not great, but a solid run stopper. 77 block shot is not crazy good or anything, but I feel like Sanchez should actually make a jump this year, even though he didn't go up in overall in training. Now, the one guy that did make a big jump in overall, that was Eric Vasquez. He now has 85 finesse moves and 73 power moves. And that's why I'm going to be putting him in passing down situations over Silvestro, even though Silvestro is the higher overall player. He has also 88 strength, which is still a good thing against the run. His 71 block shedding is not much help, but that strength is definitely some help. And Sanchez is going to be playing all downs. Silvestro is going to be the run stopper, and Vasquez is going to be the pass rusher. Now, we also recruited somebody, James DeMarcado, a 3-star. He's going to be redshirted this year, but I just wanted to show him off because he has 89 strength. He actually does have a lot of room to grow still. He doesn't have horrible caps, but he's not a great pass rusher. He's a pure run stopper, and I don't think he's ever going to be anything else. For now, he's going to be redshirted. Now, at linebacker, I already talked about Dave Santos a bunch this episode. 6'1", 221. This kid looks like an absolute monster. He has 84 zone coverage, 69 man. That's not crazy good, but it's still really good. And he's actually the second best player on the team now. And I am actually very scared that he's going to declare as a redshirt sophomore. Because if he declares, we are going to have a big problem at linebacker. We don't have any bodies there. I guess any good bodies there. But he's a great run stopper. He's good in pass coverage, and he's an unbelievable athlete. This guy flew all around the field last year. And he also had 3 sacks, which was tied for 3rd on the team. Don't have to tell you about that. We also have a middle linebacker here in Jose Castillo. He's 80 overall, and he's maxed out. So there is a thing. He's a great run stopper, and he's actually crazy good in pass coverage as well. But I will do something next year that might sound a little crazy. He has 87 finesse moves and 81 power moves. This year he's going to be the middle linebacker. He has 91 zone coverage. That's why. Next year I'm going to put him at edge rusher, at defensive end, and I hope he gets better caps there. And then I'm still going to play him at linebacker or something. But this year he's going to be the middle linebacker. Jesus Cabral is also a middle linebacker. 6'3", 221 with great run stopping ability. His speed is just not quite there. His pass coverage is absolutely horrible. And he has no pass rush ability either. 61 zone coverage is not great. 82 speed is okay. This guy is going to play a little bit this year, but not much. George Awayo, 6'3", 233 out of Bluefield, Virginia. He is a really good run stopper. He has even less speed, and his pass coverage is actually at least playable. So he's going to be the starter at right outside linebacker, and he's going to be the 3rd guy on the field in nickel and dime personnel. He's not going to be in the field in nickel and dime, obviously. I'm just putting him at 3rd place on the depth chart. So if anything happens to Castillo or to Santos, God forbid, Awayo is going to be the guy to get on the field as well. And now let's move over to corner. Brian Alonso, 5'11", 185, a former 4-star recruit with 88 man coverage, 78 press. That part is maxed out, but he has still so much more to grow, and he's an 88 overall. He's tied for the 2nd best player on the team, and his zone coverage can still grow. 76 zone coverage looks pretty good to me, and 90 speed, that's enough. It's not crazy good or anything, but I feel like this kid is a very solid player. Santiago Rodriguez, he was the number 2 corner last year. He's going to be the number 2 corner this year. Just like Alonso was the number 1 last year, and he's going to be the number 1 this year. Rodriguez is actually not a crazy good man coverage corner like Alonso is, but he has really good zone ability. And I'm expecting him to make a big step from last year, a big jump. He has more than enough speed to keep up down the field. I don't know why he got torched. That 92 speed should be enough for the conference. I guess the 83 acceleration is not crazy, but I guess I will just have to not play press this year. And then Jamichael Pena. He is going to be the number 3 corner this year. 88 man coverage, 86 press. And this kid is a 3-star, and he still has so much room to grow. I feel like Jamichael Pena has a very bright future. That zone coverage, however, is pretty awful. Actually, so awful that I think I misremembered. I don't think Pena is the number 3 corner. I think he's a 4, because that zone coverage is just so god-awful. But yeah, he does have enough speed. 90 speed, 90 acceleration. That's actually more than enough at corner in this conference at least. He should definitely be a good corner, but his zone IQ is just not there. Manu Cardoza was the number 3 corner last year, and I think with his zone coverage, he's going to be the number 3 corner this year as well, even though he didn't really make a jump in overall. 73's zone is just so much better than what we have with Pena. But Pena, I think he has a very bright future. The focus has to be on the future. Pena is going to be the number 4. Then in dime, he's going to play. In nickel, he's not going to play. And then we have another Pena in our corner room. Taylor, 5'11", 178 out of Richmond. And man, I'm only showing this guy. He's going to be redshirted this year, obviously. I just recruited him. But look at all this room to grow. He is going to be so good in a couple years. That 68 zone coverage is not playable yet. The man coverage is also not there yet. But he does have a little bit of capacity to improve his speed. And I feel like he's going to be really good. David Esposito is another player that is a true freshman that I recruited. He's a redshirt. He's going to be redshirt this year. He's not ready to play at all. The man coverage and the zone coverage are both horrible. But he has so much room to grow. So I think both of these players next year are going to be so good. Now, one thing that keeps popping up is high speed and low acceleration for my corners. I don't know why that happens, but I guess it's just something that I'll have to live with. Now, we're talking here about the starter at free safety, Anthony Carvajal. 82 zone coverage, that's just very good. 88 catching, so he is definitely a player to watch out for with interceptions. It's just he has only 85 speed, and that is just so slow. And that also means we're not going to play much man coverage this year because he's not going to be able to keep up. The player to watch out for here is George Alves. He has elite dev as a 3-star player. 5'10", 186. He has almost no caps. Look at this. He has almost no caps and he is elite dev. In a couple years, I think Elvis is going to be the best safety in the conference. Right now, he is not at all. He is not ready to play at all. It's just not going to happen. But that 91 speed, like if he puts a couple of points in that quickness thingy, he's going to be really dangerous over the top. And at strong safety, we have Nick Correa. He is a pretty decent strong safety. He didn't really go up by overall much or anything, but his pass coverage is very solid. His run stop is not horrible. He was a slot corner for us last year, and he will be playing as a strong safety this year. That 85 speed is still so slow, and I actually can't wait to replace these guys, but for now, I don't really have a choice. Now, Tony Cordero, he was the starter last year, and he was a 67 overall. So he has made a big jump in overall this year. He has 84 zone coverage, and that actually might make him the starter at strong safety, because we're gonna play a lot of zone. We can't play man with these safeties here. 85 speed on all the safeties we looked at apart from Alves. That's just not going to be enough. I'll think about it with Cordero and Correa at strong safety. I feel like Cordero might probably be the better starter because of the zone coverage, but yeah. Jesse Velasco is going to be the new kicker. He was redshirted last year, and he has the better kick power, and he still has some room to grow. I feel like he's going to make a fine kicker for the future, but for now, he's still better than what we had last year in Steve Garcia. Nick Martino at punter. This is actually going to be a massive upgrade because we had a different punter last year who had only 74 kick power. Now we have 89 kick power. This kid was redshirted last year, and I took the loss on the punting front. We had a lot of bad field position play on defense, like drives starting in our territory for the opposing offenses and stuff. But this year is going to be different, definitely. Now, schedule-wise, I did do a new schedule that looks actually a lot like last year. We are going to start the season out against Texas Tech, who is ranked. This is going to be a really tough game to start the season on, but this was the only week I could do it. Week 5, it would not have been possible. And then we're going to play Kentucky as our first conference game. That's going to be horrible. But then our conference schedule really starts. Southern Mississippi is going to be a winnable game, I think. And then we're going to play Auburn to see a player that I tried to recruit here, and he picked Auburn in the last possible week, overtook us. And then we're going to really get into the conference schedule. Appalachian State, that's a team we played last year as well. And that's already then the Western Division here with Sam Houston, Louisiana, Texas State, and UTEP. And then we're going to again play Baylor, UTSA, and Rice. Those were the 3 last games last year, and they are going to be the 3 last games this year again. Baylor is not in our conference. That's the last out-of-conference game, but I am pretty excited about the schedule. I think we're going to do a much better job this year than last year. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more Laredo State Dynasty. See you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.